Hey guys, it's Kasera, and today I'm going to be doing my reading stats for 2019. This video is part of my 2019 reading recap. If you missed the last video in this series, I will link it up in the cards for you guys. Additionally, links to all the videos in this series will be available in the description as they come out. In this video, we're going to be talking about my reading stats for 2019. We're going to start with my Goodreads reading stats, and I'm filming this about like halfway through the month of December, so unlike all of my other videos where I didn't include any data from my December reading, unfortunately, my Goodreads is completely up to date, so it's going to include a lot of my December reading books, but it's fine. And then I'll talk about some other reading stats that I just keep throughout the year. If there are any stats that I don't include on this list that you would like me to include next year, please let me know down in the comments, because I would love to get your input and potentially include them next year. I don't include a lot of the stats that a lot of other booktubers seem to include, like author male to female ratio and things like that, or like country of origin. But like, I feel like that's something that I could potentially include. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. So we're gonna start with my year in books on Goodreads. So I grabbed my laptop, so if I'm looking down, that's why. So in 2019, so far I've read 110,668 pages across 253 books, which sounds like a lot, because it is a lot. Like, that's the most I've ever read in 1 year. Of course, I haven't been like tracking how many books I've read every year pretty consistently, but I'm pretty sure that's the most I've ever read in 1 year. My shortest book was Dagon by H.P. Lovecraft, which is only 13 pages long. My longest book was The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas, which was 1,276 pages long. It surprises me that neither of those are fantasy, because usually I feel like fantasy books would get one of those stats, but it's fine. And my average page length was 437 pages, which sounds about right. I do tend to read books on the higher page count side, even though there are some that, like I said, 13 pages long. Basically a short story, right? The most popular book that I read this year was Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. It was a reread for me, obviously. 7.2 million other people have read that book. Everyone knows Harry Potter is a very popular book, so I don't even have to explain that to you guys. My least popular book that I read this year is A Full Circle by Susan Seddon, which is a self-published book, so that makes complete sense, and only 100 people have read that book, which, by the way, it's really good, guys. You guys should definitely check it out. It's a domestic psychological thriller. Okay, my average rating on Goodreads, at least, is 4.2 stars, which I'm pretty happy with. Anything over 4 stars for my average rating, I'm really happy with. If it starts dropping under 4 stars, then that means there's a lot of books that I didn't like as much, but I think I liked most of the books that I read this year, so I'm really happy with that. Highest rating on Goodreads is one of my December books, and that's A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I don't think that was the best book that I read this year. I think the book that was on this list before A Court of Mist and Fury, like before I got to my December rereads, I believe it was Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson, which I feel a little bit better about. While I did like A Court of Mist and Fury and I gave it 4.5 stars, I gave Way of Kings, which was the runner-up to highest rated on Goodreads, 5 stars and highly recommended. And really excited to continue on with that series as well. And then it just has like all of the books that I read that year. If you guys are interested in all the books that I read this year, it is the first video in my reading recap, so I'll link that up in the cards for you guys. You guys can check it out. It's a fantastic video. It took a really long time to film, but it's like one of my favorite videos like to film every year, because it's just a fun video, okay guys? So now I'm gonna move on to like the other stats. It's the same stats that I do in my wrap-up videos, but it's gonna be for the entire year. I'm gonna grab my computer for this because that's easier also. Okay, so we're gonna break it down by genre. So in 2019, I read 19 contemporary books, 105 fantasy books. I don't think I've ever tipped over 100 in a single genre before, but that's impressive. That's all I have to say about that. 33 sci-fi books, 10 historical fiction books, 2 romance novels, so didn't do very good when it comes to romance. I don't read a lot of romance in general, but I feel like I might change that next year. I might read a little bit more romance just to get a little bit more variety there, because I did a pretty good job on like all the other genres that I tried to read this year. 20 mystery thrillers or horror novels, 18 classics, which is a lot more than I expected. I didn't expect that I had read 18 classics. 7 manga, 2 poetry, and 10 nonfiction. Nonfiction actually seems a little low. I think I read a lot more nonfiction in 2018 than I did in 2019, but I'm still pretty happy with 10. Now we're gonna move on to star rating. So I rated 77 books 5 stars, which is a lot. That's a lot of 5-star books, though I don't regret any of them. 48 books, 4.5 stars. 62 books, 4 stars. 23 books, 3.5 stars. 11 books, 3 stars. 4 books, 2.5 stars, and 2 books 2 stars. I'm pretty happy with that. I do think that at the beginning of the year, I was rating books a lot higher than I would have at the end of the year. Like, there are books that I read at the beginning of the year that if I had read them at the end of the year, I would have rated them like 4 stars, even though I rated them 5 stars at the beginning of the year. So I definitely think that it's gonna be a little bit lower next year, just because I'm being like a little bit harder on books than I used to be. Now we're going to move on by age range. I read 122 adult books, which sounds about right because it's about half of the total number of books I read, and I read mostly adult books, so that sounds completely right. I read 1 new adult book, so that surprises me because usually I read more than just 1 new adult book. 58 young adult books, 25 middle grade, 10 children's books, and 11 miscellaneous. So all of those sound about where I want to be for all of those, except for maybe new adult. I might try to increase my new adult next year a little bit, though there aren't that many books that are considered new adult, but I do think that it is a genre that I want to read more of. Then I'll include like a little chart up on the screen over here for like the page count and breakout of what I did. Of course, most of the books are between 300 and 400 pages, just because that's basically the main sort of pattern, so nothing out of the ordinary when it comes to page count. And then the one that I try the hardest on and always fail, the physical to audiobook ratio. I always try to get a 50-50 and it just doesn't happen. Like, it just doesn't. So in 2019, I read 66 physical books, 9 ebooks, and 111 audiobooks because I am addicted to audiobooks, apparently. That being said though, I am pretty happy with all of my reading stats for 2019. They blew everything out of the water than what I thought I would read, because my initial goal for the year was 100 books and at 253 and counting now. So I'm pretty happy with my reading stats in 2019. Let me know down in the comments some of your reading stats in 2019. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I post videos frequently on this channel, so consider subscribing. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up to support my channel. All social media links are in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.